Oh man, it just went down like crazy. I ended up having an awesome stream. It was perfection. It was perfect. There was no comments, of course, but hey, what happened? Well, silly thing. You gotta push the go live button to be able to go live. Oh, that explains why I didn't see anything going on with that. So, we got a few plants that we're going to be covering. We're going to cover in this barely there that talks about reprints and what can you be expecting with reprints. Before we end up doing that, we also going to end up having plans that I have with the Motor City Comic Con that's going to be coming right around the corner next month, having some pretty stellar people. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to head over that way. Budget just doesn't assume it, and we just can't end up having the time. Maybe next year. There's a few different cons I would like to go over to, but we'll cover that towards the end of the show. But however, if you're picking up any books or getting any books that's going to be reprinted or anything like that, you need to go over to Panel Bound Comics, where you can use the discount code of Fifth Jack to save $2 off. Or if you have 4 or more books, put the code Jacket together to save 5% off your entire order instead. Orders of $30 or more ends up getting free media mail shipping. That way you get to experience how bomb-proof and how amazing PBC's packing up your order is. All right, let's talk about reprints. There's a few things that we're coming over the discussion with it. What's a reprint? Well, when a book goes out of print, sometimes when they come back over, they put it back in the print line, and that's making it a nice little reprint. And it's not going to be a different way that it goes over with it. There's a couple different ways that it could be reprinted. It could be a one-for-one reprint, like an omnibus being reprinted as an omnibus, or it could be a reprint of omnibus into a compendium. It's another big popular one that they've been having lately. Either way, a reprint is a nice way to be able to make sure that you can end up getting the book that you're looking for at a good, solid price. One moment. Get a drink here. But yes, that's going to be a big thing that's going to go on with it. I have a strategy that I go on with books. I have my line in the sign is that if the book is more than cover price, I don't end up picking it up. Cover price or lower is where I end up picking it up. So when books go out of print, most likely I'm not going to end up picking it up. A fun story is I go over help Panel Bound Comics with whatnot, occasionally helping them out with trying to keep lists, trying to keep everything over with that. And I happened to be catching one of the earlier shows. So at the time, they were organic price books, but I regress. At the end of the show, they had one book that's out of print that goes up normally. What was the book that we were talking about? Batman and Robin by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, the omnibus. I really wanted this at the time. That it has Robin as Damian being in the book, and that's something I ended up enjoying and loving what I ended up seeing and read of. But obviously, that's not the book that came over with it. We sold a copy of that. Sold for $300, which has a cover price of $150. So that's kind of crazy itself. But it's not out of print tax. Whenever a book's out of print, you're going to end up having to pay more for that book, most likely. Sometimes you could get lucky on a whatnot or anything like that. But most likely, you should be assuming that you're going to end up paying an out of print price. Unless you're me, but then you're not going to pay that price. But anyways, I regress. They paid $300. Legitly, like 5 minutes after that, not even that, we ended up getting announced for a reprint. So that means that person paid $300 for a book that's going to be getting a reprint. Granted, they had that book for an extra year than what other people would have. So maybe they really wanted the story and they ended up picking it up and wasn't kicking themselves. But if the shoes were reversed, I would be kicking myself like crazily. I could just wait. I got enough books. I can end up waiting for that book. And that's exactly why I ended up putting that rule into place. So reprints are a crucial part. And then you can also have different avenues that you can end up going. What are those avenues? Well, let me jump over to Panel Bound Comics and we can see those avenues. I have a classic case of a book that's being reprinted because it's already out of print. So we're looking at a restock coming in June of the X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis Omnibus by Jim Lee. Has a Shattershot cover, so this is going to have just the standard cover. Normally, when a book gets reprinted, it doesn't have the direct market cover. So if you really want the direct market cover, you want to make sure you stay on top of the books that comes over with it. But this is going to end up coming out and printing, and this is where you can end up getting this for a cheaper price. See, this has the cover price, I believe, $150. But right now, over at Panel Bound Comics, you can pick it up for $101 or $199 if you use the code @5thjack to save $2 off. But if you're coming over and you're wanting to pick up a reprint like this, you want to make sure you pre-order that. I'm not trying to go over crazy about it, but when a book first gets printed, it has a bigger amount of books that are out. Unless you're Marvel, then you're cutting down. You're trying not to have so many books that goes out. But when you get a reprint, that entire bigger pull that you ended up having at the first place ends up going down to a smaller volume that you end up picking it up. So this is where you're going to be following the FOC, trying to make sure you order those books that you are hugely interested into. How can we end up doing that? Well, you could go over here, Pound and Mile Comics, go past the Invincible Omnibus, the advertisement for G.I. Joe, the Kickstarter, a feature sales that they have, buy two, get one free, a 50% off sale, and finally make it down to pre-order now, pay less, and hit pre-order. So that's going to have all these books that are be coming over is going to be up for pre-order. These are going to be books that you can end up picking up and making sure that you can end up picking. That's going to go back into print, and the ways to be able to get those reprints that's going to go, or these are brand new books that's going to be coming out. So a few books that you have is like you got the compendium that's coming back out of Tom Strong, which is awesome, a little reprint because that's definitely one I'm interested into. You have a brand new book in Uncanny X-Men, Volume 6. But then you have the classic reprints that comes over with that, which was that X-Men Blue and Gold that we talked about. Ultimate Spider-Man. Wow, that has a direct market cover being only. So that's something crazy. Spider-Verse getting a reprint. King in Black. Thor by Jason Aaron. Another Spider-Man. So yeah, I guess you got a couple of different covers that you could end up picking over with it. But this is going to be a complicated point. Woo. I'm getting a little hot under the collar. Maybe I should shadow layer real quick. Whew. There we go. That's a little bit better. Whew. That was getting a little hot under the collar. Where you can end up picking these guys up. So, like I said, the reprint is going to be something that you want to make sure that you end up keeping and keep on going with. Solid grabs all the way around that goes over with that. So there's a various different things that could cause you to miss a print of a book. You can end up just forgetting about the book getting reprinted and then miss the entire window to pre-order the book. You didn't have it in the budget. You weren't collecting at the time when it was coming out. There's a few different things, or you just passed on the book because that wasn't going into your collection. So I have a few books that I'm looking forward to, and I'm hoping they end up getting reprinted. A big one that I remember right off the top of my head is with Daredevil. I want to get the Charles Soule omnibus, and I'm so waiting for a reprint. I know it. I can taste it that a reprint's going to be coming down. I've been tempted to be able to pick that up at the crazy, sorry about that, for the crazy out of print price, but I digress and make sure I stay full. Over here at the channel, we have the rule that we don't pay over cover price. Cover price or less is what we end up going. Even when I saw a couple of the Charles Soule Daredevil books a little bit over cover price, it was super, super tempting, but I had to hold firm and wait for that entire omnibus to get a reprint. Normally, reprints come over at a decent clip. Your big two, DC and Marvel, does a pretty decent job. I know Marvel's at an influx right now. We had some kind of shenanigans that's going on with them, but we'll have to stay tuned and see what's going to go on. Normally, they're pretty decent about getting a reprints of books. So is DC. I kind of wish that some books would become evergreen that you end up having, like, for instance, like Wolverine #1. I think that should be an evergreen book, or anything like that. Going over any kind of core runs, like Brubaker's Captain America. That was one of those that I had those strategies that I ended up picking up the books that I could, because I know a reprint's going to be coming over with it, and then pick it up as I could go along. Budget does play a big role into this hobby. And for me, I don't want to get ridiculous into paying those out of price books. I know that's something that Jake from Brave and the Boys, he's done and regretted. And that's a thing that he preaches to not be practicing, is not to go after those big whales, not to go out of the stuff that's out of print. Save your money, be able to get over with it. If you get these books, sometimes books go crazily expensive, like the Book of Doom. I've seen that book go for like $400. It's crazy how much a book can go out of print, and how crazily expensive it can get, and how crazy it gets expensive really, 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 really fast. So stay calm, relax, wait for a reprint to come around. Granted, they're a little bit more rare when you end up having like your indie books, for instance. However, a big offset that you ended up having, we just saw the Descender books getting a reprint. So you have a few of the indie books that end up getting reprints, but it's going to be a little bit safe side of what's going to be going on. Those are normally like those books I tend to be able to keep track of, and making sure I have in the order and keeping that. Big volumes, so you can end up picking them up. So I think we covered the reprints pretty decently, how you could tackle it, what we end up tackling, and how it goes along with it. Let's talk about another topic that I wanted to go with. So it's becoming con season. I want to end up going to cons. However, I'm not ready yet. Channel-wise isn't ready. I haven't got enough merch. I haven't got that going on yet to be able to advertise for the channel. We got to end up growing a little bit more before I can end up jumping into that pool. I'm hoping on going to one of the local cons that we have here called Cherry Capital Con, or Cherry Con. And if you happen to be up in Traverse City at the time, I'm planning on going on that Sunday for it, to at least meet Mark Wade, to be able to go over with that. But there's another bigger con coming next month that I'm super interested into, and I kind of wish I could end up going to it. And that's called the Motor City Capital, or Motor City Con. That's down in Detroit area, where they end up having big people like Drew Moss, who does Thundercats. You end up having Stephanie Phillips, who just started Daredevil, and who has Phoenix being the big thing with that. Scott Snyder, who does Absolute Batman, writes that, and then wrote Batman with Capullo. And then you also end up having Mark Bagley. That's right, the big famous person that ends up doing Spider-Man, known for Spider-Man, known for a bunch of other Marvel stuff. That's going to be down there. Other people that's going to be down there as well. You end up having Charlie Cox from Daredevil being down there. You have Shatner that's going to be over there. It's crazy what you're going to end up having to go over there. But I'm not talking about that just to be able to talk. My friend's going down there, so he said that he'll try to get some stuff signed. He's going to go happen to stop at a few spots. So I wanted to make sure I set it up, contact with some people, and be able to get that going. So I ended up putting a little order in to make sure. One of these books I know I have, but I couldn't end up finding it. First one I'm going to start off with is going to be Thundercats Lost. Pick these up from Midtown, by the way. Thundercats Lost, the Mark Bagley edition. The exclusive cover from Mark Bagley, and that's going to be found right here. I kind of want him to sign and possibly do a remark on that. A remark is a quick little drawing that he can end up doing. It can be whatever character that they want, but I plan on adding that over here on my setup. A second choice that I picked up, because he's known for Spider-Man. I would love to have that Venom Carnage or that Carnage issue to be able to have him signed. But unfortunately, I don't have that. I might do the Magic card that has that art on the Terminate card and might end up going with that way. I don't know. But cover wise, I saw this little Spider-Man, which is a Bagley cover. And I'm like, okay, that's an outside shot. It's cheap enough. I ended up picking that up as an outside choice. But I don't know what exactly I'm going to send. Another one I'm going to be sending is Daredevil. I got issue number 1 from the blind bag that you can see that we ended up picking up. That's the Ryan Stegman cover. I'm going to want to get Stephanie Phillips to sign that. I may even get Charlie Cox to sign that as well. And maybe when I see Stegman again, I can have him sign that and then have that higher triple signature going on with it. I'm not collecting it for value. I'm collecting it for stuff that I ended up wanting. But a big one, I've been talking with him over on Blue Sky. I've been talking with Drew Moss, who is notorious or known for doing Thundercats with Declan Shelby, and I wanted him to do something. So I ended up picking up Thundercats issue number 6, the Drew Moss cover. There's a few reasons why I ended up picking up this one. A, this is a perfect spot for a remark. I'm going to let him do whatever he ends up wanting to do. Let the artists work their magic. Obviously, I'm going to have a signature. And then I love it because it has Lionel with Sword of Omens with the eye. And I'm planning on putting it into the background right here. And where you see Thundercats number 2, I'm going to put that right there and have that be looking over with the Thundercat logo popping up from that. So I figured that was a cool little setup place what's going on with that. And that's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what that's going to end up looking like. Whew. And that's something that's going to go over with it. I know this is crazy, but this is the second time with me going over with that. I'm super excited. I'm glad that we were able to be talking about this. In the future, there is a few cons that I do have on my radar that I would like to end up making. It too, I would like to end up going to Heroes Con, which I believe is going to be in North Carolina. That's going to be something I want to end up covering. Would love to end up going to that. I have friends that ends up going there that lives in that area, and some friends that normally go like every other year go over to that con. Definitely something I've heard nothing but good things about, and I think that's going to be my first bigger con that I want to end up going to be able to feel out those waters. Other cons that I would like to end up going to is going to be San Diego Comic-Con, obviously, and New York Comic-Con. Both of those would be something interested. I saw that Jake from Boy from the Boys and Jordan ended up going over that way. Went to both of those cons last year. Oh, my goodness. That's kind of intense. But that's something I would end up loving to go in the long haul for the channel. I believe I do have to get the channel a little bit up there, and it's going to be a good way to go over, be able to talk with people, while do some networking and stuff like that, have a little bit of fun. Fun is the bottom line thing to be able to do, because if we're not having fun, what are we doing then? So, with that said, is there anything that you'd be interested into? Would you be interested into us covering the FOC for Panel Bound Comics, covering that over there as well? If that's something you're interested into, let us know down in the comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you later.